Hello again, everyone. This is Randy, your sewing machine man, and today we're looking at a brother with no model or any kind of a name on it. I'm pretty sure it's from the Pace Setter series back in the day, because I was with brother way back in the early '80s, and this is when this one came out. It was back when brother had the typewriters and the printers, and they were getting into computers, and of course their mainstay was sewing machine. So they thought, well, let's put some gadgets on the sewing machine to make it kind of cool. And that's this little panel right here, LCD panel. All it does is tell you what stitch you're in and whether your bobbin winder's on or off. It'll say bobbin winder, and when you select your stitch, it'll say up there straight stitch, rick-rack, zigzag. It'll tell you what stitch you're doing. And of course, if it decides it doesn't want to work, you just have to do a count. Like if you start at 2, 2, 3, and then you go click, 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 and you'll use a deductive logical numeral sequence to figure out what stitch you're on. So if you take off and you see it's doing say the tulip or the swan, and you go, well, that must be 14 or 15, and then you turn it one way and go up or down. You can buy these, you can buy them used. I'm surprised that this works. Don't expect it to work. If you're somewheres and it's a resale place and you see one of these, someone's donated it, I wouldn't be afraid of buying it. If you turn it on, the light comes on, and it's a 15 class system. It's not brother's worst effort. I'm not a big fan of their drop-in bobbins, and they have some of the front-loaded ones that aren't as good as this one. This has got a real heavy frame on it. This is not a lightweight machine. It's probably in the mid 20 pounds. So it's not a real light one, but it's got a little handle up here on top, and it's a 15 class system, front load. I tell everybody that's my favorite system, especially when it's the old school 15 class bobbin case, a good heavily chromed hook assembly like this one. I had to polish it off and get it real nice and sharp again. Put it on the jeweler's wheel, polishes up real nice. You can clean these out, oil these, you can get access to everything on them. The top comes off, and the top is a puzzle. A lot of folks are like, well, how in the heck do you get this top off? And that has been a stumper for a lot of folks, because like so many folks that make these machines, they hide the screws under the handle. What? Yep, there's the screws there and there. So they put the screws under there so you can't find them. So it's a stumper. So you loosen those screws, and then once you go to take the top off, you'll find that there's another stumper that it won't come off because it's locked in down here. See this rod here, this rod here goes through a hole, pins through a hole there. It's there and there, so you have to bring it in, put it through, then work it back through, and then pull it up, hold your mouth just right, and it can be a challenge. But the reason I'm taking the top off is to show you, if you get one of these and you think this thing's squeaking or it's locked up and won't go, the most likely culprit is going to be this right here. This little guy right here. You see, this is actually motionless inside, and this is rotating around it. Let's get this over here so you can see it. See, this in the center sits still, while the one outside it rotates around it. They started doing that about this time. And this is for, setting your feed timing. And you got screw there and screw there for that. But this will get dry, it'll squeal, it'll lock up. So this is the most important place. If you get one of these, oil that first. Then everything that, hinges, slides, rotates, or pivots. You got a lot of that going on over here, all this stuff. It's not my favorite machine. It's not even going to be in my top probably 50 favorite machines. But everybody doesn't have a whole bunch of money. And if you want to get a good serviceable machine, if you do not have one, and you see one of these at the Goodwill or at the Salvation Army or online, somebody's donated it online, you can oil the bearings on here and get this thing limbered up and ready to go, and it'll sew. It'll sew, and it's got a lever reverse here. It's not a bad little machine. If you don't have a machine, you want a machine, what the heck? We're not going to be snobs about it. Everybody can't have this and have that. This is one of the very first electronics, what they called electronics, that it's all analog. It's totally analog. Everything on it is analog. Everything's mechanical. But it's got this little LCD screen here. The very first ones that came out in the Pacesetter series. And after this, they had the one that said it would actually have a sweet little Asian lady's voice. It says, lower press a foot lever if you lift it up. And now they have the ones that say, good morning, Dolores. How are you? You know, and it'll play orchestra music. So this was the first shot at getting all the electronics, kind of a hybrid electronics, mechanical. But you can do worse than this machine. It's got the 10⁻⁶ out the front, which I'm a fan of. The 15 class front load, which I'm a fan of. It has a drop feed on it, which, you know, gets you going. And the bobbin winds up here on top. Has the regular clutch that releases. It's got a fractional horsepower motor. It's not the worst machine out there. It's got the free arm flatbed. So there's enough to like on here. If you can see one of these and play for 20 bucks, 50 bucks, whatever you got to pay for it. Oil it up, wipe it up, get it all pretty, and do some sewing. It's got a lot of plastic and a lot of nylon in there, but if you don't get crazy with it and try to sew heavy denim, or, you know, get on some super canvas bag project or something like that, it's not a bad little machine. It's heavy, but it's not a bad little machine. There's no name on it. I'm just called the Brother Pacesetter, and it's from the early 80s. And it was back when Brother was making the transition from all their super duper metal machines into plastic and more plastic, but this still has enough metal in it to be effective. So if you get a chance to get one of these, not a bad machine if the price is right.